Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the first TBR takedown of 2026. We're actually gonna mix it up a little bit this year. Last year I was using a bingo card to help me read through my entire physical TBR. I don't want to blame my cat, but he was behind that stack. So, all right, let's try this again. We're actually going to switch it up a little bit because last year we were using bingo to help me read through my physical TBR. And this year we're actually going to use this little punch card that I made. So it's going to be exactly like how when you go to like a restaurant or to a spa or something like that, and every time you go, you get like a little stamp or something on your punch card. That's how this is going to be. And to make this a little bit more fun, I've decided to put myself on a book buying ban until I can finish this entire card. Basically how this is going to work is that each book has a number on it, and then on the back it has the same number, and it'll either give me a prompt or it'll tell me to pick a prompt from my TBR jar. I'm just gonna jump right into it and pick my first number. I made this a couple of hours ago, so I don't remember what number corresponds to what prompt, but I think I already know what number I want to pick because 6 is my lucky number, so we're gonna go with number 6. Number 6 is actually a prompt from my TBR jar, so we're gonna take out the trusty TBR jar for the first one, which is actually exciting because these prompts are so old. Like, I don't know when I wrote these prompts, but they're at least a year old, so I don't remember what's in here. Pick number 1. Oops. Ooh, this one's exciting. It says it's a book you think you'll rate 5 stars. Okay, let me take a little gander at what I have going on here. I picked out 3 choices for this first prompt. So first I have Alchemized, which I've been wanting to read this for so long. And then I also have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And then I also have Unravel Me, which I think this one has high 5-star potential because it was compared to Yours Truly, and I love Yours Truly. Now, if I look at these 3 books, I feel like Alchemized has the highest 5-star potential, but I am trying to convince my in-person friend book club to read Alchemized, so I'm gonna put off reading Alchemized until we read it with my book club, okay? Because I want to read it with them so badly. It's also like a 1,000-page book, okay? That's crazy. I think it might be more than 1,000 pages, so I really want to read that with book clubs. So I'm gonna push that one off until either we decide we do really want to read it, or we decide we don't want to read it and then I can just read it on my own. But I think out of my options that have the highest 5-star potential, I think I want to read Unravel Me. Let's go start this book and I'll tell you what I think about it. Oh, also, before I forget, it's signed. How cute is that? Okay, now we can go read. I haven't gotten very far into this book. I only made it to chapter 8, which is page 45, but I am really enjoying it right now, and I definitely see the comparisons to Part of Your World because our main female character comes from a prominent business family. We haven't really like learned her background a ton, but we know that her and her family have a lot of money, and something happens with her and her fiance, and they call off the wedding, and then she meets Rhett, which is our main male character, and he is quite literally the opposite. I think he owns like a plot of land in a small town, and he has a small business where he does something with like fixing things. I'm not entirely sure what yet because we've only met him a couple times at this point, but I definitely see the comparisons, and I'm actually really liking this book right now. I have been reading it on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited, which is really nice. Both this one and the next one in the series, which is Lucky Penny, they're both on Kindle Unlimited. If I end up liking this one, that's great news. That means I can just hop right into the next book. I am loving how similar this book is to Part of Your World. I'm gonna try to stop saying that because I feel like I've already said that so many times in this video, but if you like that book so far, I really recommend this one. I mean, I'm not very far into the book, so we will see. Also, I love my new glasses, but like the reflection on them is crazy. My old pair was not this reflective. Like, this drives me crazy, but I am actually going to go curl up in bed and read some. I meant to be in bed like an hour ago. I just kind of lost track of time. I was just like doing my thing, and then I look at the clock and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is my bedtime. I should be in bed right now, but I haven't even gotten ready for bed yet, but that's okay. I'm gonna get ready for bed. Also, the great thing about this being on Kindle Unlimited, it means I can wake up early in the morning and do a little walk on the treadmill and read on my Kindle. This is great news. Plus, I'm scared to mess up this book because
you already know. It's signed.
And I want it to stay in pristine condition, especially if I like this book. I need to slow my roll, okay? am on chapter 27, which is page 151, and I am actually, am I good at predicting my 5 stars? Because this has potential, okay? I'm actually really liking this to the point where I'm like, do I put off all my other tasks that I wanted to get done today to read? It has very high potential. I think I need to spend a couple hours editing, but if I didn't have to edit today, I would be sitting on this couch reading for the rest of the evening. I'm actually really obsessed with this book, and I can't pinpoint exactly what it is. I think there's just something about the way that she wrote our 2 main characters makes me in love with them. I don't know what it is, but I just love it so much, and it genuinely feels like I'm watching a TV show or a movie, and I love when a book can do that because it feels like I am being transported into this world and these people exist, but they literally only exist in my mind in this book, which is crazy. But I just wanted to come on here and say that I am thoroughly enjoying this, and I wish I could just forget all of my responsibilities and sit and read this. It is so good. So fingers crossed that the last half of this book is going to be as good as the first half. I am scared that I can already predict where the story is going, but I do feel like in romance books it's easy for me to predict things, so we'll see if I'm right or not. I'm sorry this lighting is actually atrocious, but you know what, we're doing the best we can with what we have, okay? Beggars can't be choosers, okay? And I'm a beggar. Anyways, lighting's crazy because I have this set up in here so that I can film in front of the windows and use the natural light, but the sun has long gone. It has set. But I still need to chat with you, and I actually need to pick my next book because I finished Unravel Me a couple of hours ago. I actually finished this on the treadmill, and I was literally trying to hold in my giggles at the ending of this book and just like my smirk, because I was like, I'm in public and I'm shy. Anyways, was this book absolutely perfect? No. Did it reinvent the wheel? No. But it was exactly what I needed. It was right book, right time kind of situation. And I think I'm gonna give this a 4 star. I might even bump it to a 4.5, maybe even a 5. I don't know. I just loved this book so much. And I want to say I'm a little bit shocked by how much I loved it, but literally the prompt was a book that I think might be a 5-star read. I just have never read anything from this author. I feel like no one ever talks about her either, but I loved it so much that I immediately downloaded the next book on my Kindle. So I'm very excited to get to that one. But this one I found a tiny bit predictable, but at the same time I almost didn't care because of how much I loved the characters in this book. And I am just shocked that no one talks about this, especially because it reminds me so much of another popular book. So I feel like a lot of people might like this. And also, like I said, I've met this author and she is the sweetest person. So I highly recommend this book. It was so good and I am so glad I finally read it. I can't believe it was sitting on my TBR for almost a year. I think maybe like 9 months it was sitting on my TBR, and it was a great book. I loved it. Also, I think this book just really hit me because I was in the mood for just a pure, strictly romance book, and I have not picked up a romance book. I was gonna say at all this year, but I have. I read Love and Luck earlier this year, and that's the only romance book I picked up this year, which is shocking, actually. Did I just lie to you? I don't know. I don't think I have read another romance book this year. That's wild. It is only like the 3rd week of January, but that's wild for me, okay? But I was just in the mood for good, old-fashioned romance, and that's what this was. Also, something about me that I just discovered very recently, I love reading about rich people, and our main female character in this book, she's very rich. Like, she comes from a family where like her last name is recognizable. That's how rich they are. But anyways, enough yapping about this book. Let's move on to our next book. Using my little TBR punch card, I did pull out this little star sticker that I thought we could use because I don't have a punch, like a hole punch, and I don't have a small stamp. So I feel like this little sticker will do this perfectly. But anyways, I'm not looking at the back, I promise. Let's pick a new one. I kind of want to do one on this bottom row since I just did one on the top. Let's do 13 because I feel like that's an unlucky number, so I want to kind of get it out of the way, you know? 13 is scaring me a little bit, so we're gonna go with that one. Oh, 13 is cat picks. Okay, this is really exciting actually. So I'm thinking what I will do is I will pick out 2 books and then I'll put a treat on each book, and then whatever book my cat goes to first is the one I'm going to read. Now the problem is we currently have 2 cats. I'm like, which cat do I do this with? I picked out my 2 options, which I'm gonna show you before I actually do this little cat treat thing, but they are both on my 26 books I want to read in 2026. So the first one is Any Other Name, which is some type of mystery book, and literally the only thing I remember about this book is that it takes place in the winter time, which is why I want to read it soon. Plus we are supposed to get snow this weekend, so I'm like, maybe this would be a good book to read. But also I've really been wanting to read Uglies because this movie came out, I think it came out last year, and I've been wanting to read it ever since. But I actually read this book in middle school, but I'm now 23, so it's been a really long time since I read this book, you know, like 10 plus years. But I remember being obsessed with this book and then never picking up the rest of the series. So if I still like this book, I can pick up the rest of the series, which is great. So obviously I will be happy if they pick either one. I still have not decided which cat I'm gonna do this with. I feel like I should do it with Dewey because he's sitting right in front of me. Look at my little prince. He's trying to play with scissors. Bad idea, Dewey. Dewey, pick a book. Dewey, look over there. Look. Dewey, come look. Yeah, pick one. Look. Treats on the book, Dewey. Yeah, good job. Look, there's one over here too. You did a good job. Look, baby. Good job. Okay, we officially have our next read. Let's all just agree to ignore my pimple patch, okay? I have a pimple that really wants to be besties with me and I keep trying to get rid of it and it just will not go away. It just wants to hang out with me because I'm like super cool and fun to hang out with. So anyways, back to the book. I have officially made it to part 2. I'm on page 142 and I'm actually not obsessed with this book and I really thought I would be. I am shocked that I don't love it, but literally the only reason that I thought I would love this book so much was because I loved it in middle school, and middle school was what, like 10 years ago? I don't even know, but it was a long time ago, and obviously I have changed a lot since middle school. And it's not that I'm not enjoying it, I am enjoying it, I'm just not loving it, and I'm kind of like, where is the story gonna go? I'm almost like confused, but I feel like that will be a good thing later on in the book when these crazy things do happen. At least I'm assuming crazy things are going to happen. I have one tiny prediction, but I don't feel like that's going to come true. I almost feel like things are just gonna go off the rails because I feel like in a dystopian book, normally they go like against the government and like they revolt, you know? Like I'm thinking like Hunger Games, like they are revolting against the government. I feel like that's how this book is going to end up, but I'm super confused based on the titles of the rest of the series. I feel like I'm using the titles of the rest of the series as like hints of what is going to happen, even though maybe I shouldn't do that. I don't know. But as of right now, I'm not loving it, but I am still enjoying myself. It just kind of feels like a middle of the road, like, oh, like what's going on kind of thing. But I am going to keep reading it and we'll see if I end up liking it more. Fingers crossed that I do, because I still am interested in reading the rest of the series as of right now. So we will see. I sat down over here getting ready to read, right? And I realized I didn't tell you what this book was about.
A real pro YouTuber over here, okay?
Anyways, let me actually tell you what this book is about in case you haven't heard of the book or the movie, because it is a movie on Netflix. Did I say that already? I feel like I did. But basically, this is a dystopian world where you have like two groups of people. You have the uglies and the pretties, and the uglies, when they turn 16, they get to become pretty, but they have to wait until their 16th birthday in order to do so. So it's like a big thing in this world where they're all so super excited to turn 16 so that they finally can become pretty, and they get like this surgery done, and it's like a whole big thing because apparently in the past, before they did this surgery, people were fighting because they were ugly, maybe, potentially. I'm not entirely sure on that part of the book. That part confuses me a little bit. But then our main character Tally meets her friend Sally. No, Shay? Yes, Shay. And Shay doesn't really want to become pretty, so she runs away. And Tally basically has to deal with the consequences of Shay's actions, and now Tally is on this journey to go try and figure some stuff out, you know? I feel like that's all you should know about this book. It gives you more information on the little sheet in here, but I feel like you should not know that much information because I feel like I have just gotten up to that point and I'm already pretty far into the book, so I don't know why they give you so much information sometimes. But anyways, now I'm actually going to sit down and read for a while. Finished Uglies last night. It was actually fully accidental because I was trying to fall asleep and it was actually taking me forever to fall asleep. Like I could not fall asleep. Last night I was in bed from like 9 to, I don't know, 11 or 11:30 and I just could not fall asleep. So when I went to lay down to go to sleep, I had over halfway left of this book and then I just devoured it in bed because like I said, I couldn't sleep and I didn't want to go on my phone or any like screens or anything like that because I try not to go on screens at all, at least for a little bit before I go to bed. But anyways, I finished this this book and I am actually shocked at how much I liked it because the beginning of the book, so boring. Like it's one of those books where it was like, trust the process. And then finally in the last half of the book, I was like, okay, I like this. Now I understand why middle school me was obsessed with this. And it's actually shocking to me that my brain just didn't remember a single thing from this book. Granted, like I said, it was over 10 years ago when I last read this, but I am so glad I reread this because the ending was so good. I think I'm gonna give this a 4-star and I'm very excited to read the next book because it ends on such a cliffhanger. Like I don't know how I just didn't read any of the rest of the series in middle school because the cliffhanger ending was just wild. I'm like, should I start the next book right away? I kind of want to, but we're gonna pick our next read together in a second. I do have a couple more things to say about this book. One of the main things being that this whole like uglies and pretties thing is kind of weird to me, and I have to almost like make it more dramatic in my head and like make it to where like it's not actually just talking about like pretty people, because the whole like bare concept of this whole like dystopian world where they make you pretty and that is like solving everything basically. I mean, you get more into it and you get more information when you read this book, but that's like all you know really in the first half of the book. And it's kind of like, this is so weird because in what world would everyone being pretty and everyone looking the exact same just solve everything? Like I said, you go more into it as you read the book, but it is such an odd concept. In the beginning, I just could not grasp this. I was like, this is so weird. But like I said, you get more information as the book goes on, and I feel like that definitely helped. So because of that, I'm debating. I'm like, is this a 4-star? Is this a 3.5-star? I feel like it's a 4-star because I loved the ending so much. But like I said, I'm so excited to read the rest of the series. I feel like if I was not trying to get through my physical TBR, I would just read the series like back to back because the cliffhanger ending was too much for me to handle. Okay, I need to know what's gonna happen. But let's go pick my next read. I moved my books back to the shelf because they were taking up too much space on the floor. But this is my physical TBR, as is this shelf and this shelf up above. But this is actually my priority TBR on this shelf, and then this one as well. So I will hopefully mostly be picking from these two options over here, but I might go over here as well. We'll just see what we get from our little TBR punch card. So I'm going to pick my next number. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm gonna do number 16. I don't know why that was just calling to me. So that is, oh, another TBR prompt. Okay, this is fun. Okay, let's see what prompt we get. This is a book set in a different continent. Okay. Okay, so I need a book that takes place not in North America. I feel like this might take a while. Okay, I feel like I only really have two options for this prompt that are like on my immediate radar. So the first is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. And there's literally only a sentence on the back, but it says, Heart of Darkness tells of a European Kurtz who reverts to savagery in an isolated native trading post. So I'm assuming this takes place somewhere in Europe. There's actually two books in here, which is crazy because this is such a small book, but it's The Heart of Darkness and The Secret Sharer. But I'm thinking I want to pick up Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This takes place in Tokyo and it's also on my 26 books I want to read in 2026. So I feel like this is probably the better option for me. And I think I'm more in the mood to read this versus a classic. So we're gonna go with this one, which is really exciting because I think that's all three books were on my 26 books I want to read in 2026. I think, yeah, okay. This is really exciting. Also, I'm obsessed with this cover and I've been wanting to read this book for a really long time. And then I found this at the thrift store like a month or so ago. So I'm very excited for this one. It actually makes me wish that I hadn't already had my morning coffee so that I could read and drink my morning coffee, but that's okay, maybe tomorrow. I am really enjoying this book so far. It weirdly felt a little bit slow in the beginning, and I say weird because this book is so short. I was not expecting it to feel slow at all. Basically, this book is about this coffee shop that lets you go back in time, but you can only be in the past until your coffee gets cold. And there's a bunch of different other rules and things as well that get explained, which I feel like the first chapter does a pretty good job of explaining everything. And there's only 4 chapters in this book, so they're pretty long chapters, but they almost feel like short stories. They don't really feel like chapters, but obviously like everything is still connected because they all take place at this coffee shop, but at least so far it's different characters in each chapter. And so far I'm understanding the hype around this one, and I really liked how the first chapter ended. I'm a little bit less than halfway through this book, so I just started the second chapter and I am still enjoying it. I wish so badly that I had this on my Kindle so that I could easily like walk and read with it, because I'm going to the gym pretty soon and I just want to do my little walk and read, but that's okay. I finished Before the Coffee Gets Cold yesterday. I actually really liked this book, and I think I'm gonna give it a 4-star. I was debating giving it a 4.5-star. I don't know. I will let you know if that changes. But I liked this book so much. I feel like it would have been a 5-star if I wasn't constantly confusing all of the characters. I feel like for the first, I don't know, 60 to 70% of the book, I kept mixing up all of the characters because you have some characters that are the same throughout each story, but then there's like a main character-ish that is doing like the actual time traveling aspect of the book. And the people like working in the cafe, for some reason it was so hard for me to distinguish who was who until we got more character development like towards the end of the book, and then I was able to distinguish them a lot easier. So that kind of sucks, but I will say that is an issue I have in books, particularly books that have a lot of characters. I will get them a little bit confused. This book though did not have a lot of characters, but I still ended up struggling just a little bit at the beginning, but I still really liked this one. Highly recommend it, and now I understand the hype. But I feel like we had a great week of reading. I cannot believe these 3 books were sitting on my physical TBR and I ended up loving every single one of them. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more TBR takedown videos this year. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!